So I've just downloaded and installed the Geeks Toy, which is Betfair trading software, and I'm going to try my hand at trading on the horse racing market. Now you might already be doing this or had a crack at it, or you might be completely new at it. And at first, when you install the software, it probably looks quite daunting, like what the hell's going on? Got a lot of flashing lights and numbers, but it's actually quite simple. So I'm looking at a race here, which is in Wyong. It's a race 1100 metre maiden race, and it starts in about 4.5 minutes, 4.75 minutes or so. Now, at the moment, there has been about $12,500 traded on this race, meaning backers have come in and they've backed the horses. Obviously, the bookies, or in this case, the Betfair market, have been selling the horse. And if this doesn't make sense to you, let me know, and I'm happy to explain it, because I know, this whole, I back the horse, I lay the horse. What the hell does all that mean? What I'm going to do is I'm going to right-click on here and show the ladder. And you've got all these different charts and graphs, and you're probably thinking, oh, what the hell is all that? Bottom line is this. Here's the field. There are a number of selections here. I'm looking at, on the ladder, the top 3 favourites based on price. So the number 1 favourite is trading at $1.85 or thereabouts. The second favourite, $3.15. Third favourite, about $12. Now, I'm going to set a stake here of, say, $50, and I'm going to back the horse and lay the horse simultaneously so that I can get out with what they call a green stake, or I green up, which means regardless of which horse wins the race, I make money. Which sounds amazing, right? Yeah. So bottom line is I need to work out a point at where I'm happy to back this horse. Now at the moment, we can see the price of this is down at about $1.90, so it's below $2. There's been money traded up as high here as you see these green lines here. This is where the money has traded. Most of it is traded 4.7k, around $1.90. So I'm going to jump in at $1.89 with a back bet, which basically says I want to back this horse at $1.90. Whether I get my stake taken or my bet placed or not is another thing. But I've essentially put in a $50 bet at $1.90, and I'm hoping that the layers, which are these pink guys, come up and offer me $1.90, $1.89 rather. But you can see now that the price is dropping, because lots of people are saying, well, I'll take $1.88, $1.87, right down to $1.79. And now there's only a minute 38 left before the race starts. Probably not going to get this bet taken. And that's fine. So sometimes, obviously, it's just playing the waiting game. Now, there's a fair bit of money in front of me in the queue now. There's 200 here, 90, 30, 12, 20, 200, 39 down here. 1 minute to go. I'm not getting my bet placed at $1.89, obviously. But I'll sit it out. With trading, whether it's horses or stocks or anything, you got to play the waiting game. It's all about being patient. Yes, I could jump in here and say, oh, look, I'll take $1.72. But you've got to take a price that you're happy with, not just what the market is going to offer you or give you. Okay, it's starting to come up a little bit. No, it's going back down again. There's only 20 seconds left to go. I'm going to cancel this trade and move on to the next race, because part of the discipline of being a successful trader is being disciplined, having patience, realizing that this is not the only race. This is not your only opportunity to make money. There's literally hundreds of races ahead of me, thousands by the end of the week, by the end of the month. Don't always have to take the race that's presented to you. So let's move on to the next one. So I right click on the ladder here. Next race is in Cairns. I'm looking for the winner, not the place, or a head-to-head, meaning horse A versus horse B, whatever. So I'm looking at the Cairns race for a winner. Now I can see there's 6 minutes left to go before this race starts. There's only $3,000 being traded on this race so far. And we can see it's very gappy, meaning $1. Yeah, okay, so someone wants to back the horse for $1 at $2.88. Next guy's up at $2.94, he's got $6. So there's a lot of gaps. No money's traded. Over the whole race, there's been $3.5 grand. On this one horse, there's been $2,100, which is nothing. Literally, that's just a handful of bets, which is understandable. I mean, there's still 5 minutes left to the race. So the backers haven't come in yet because they are probably still looking at a different race. Some of the charts I've got set up here. Now you can actually customize this. You can do so many different things. What do you want to show? Which part of the headers do you want? And if you want me to go through that in a different video, I'm happy to. The bottom line is what I'm looking at here. This is a tick by tick chart. If I right click on that, this chart is traded volume, and with traded volume I can set it up to say, well, it's showing me 60 seconds of time of traded volume over the last 60 seconds, and it's refreshing. The sample rate is 0.5, so every half a second it's showing me the traded volume. And this is important because the chart down here, which is the Betfair chart, which shows me price over time as well as volume, doesn't update as often as this. I think this is every minute or so. So basically saying, yeah, look, this horse is traded as high as $5.55, $5.60, something like that, which I can confirm by saying, where do I run out of green bars? There's $5. There, $5.70. There was some money at $5.70. That shows me there. Some money at $5.70. There was a big volume spike here at about $3.50. So we look at the $3.50 mark. There it is. $510 was traded. That's a fairly big volume in comparison to, a couple of hundred here, a couple of hundred there. But for the most part, this horse is trading down here at about, what's that, $2.60, $2.70 or so, which lines up with this, $2.60, $2.70. Actually, it's closer to about $2.80, isn't it? Yeah, that's where all the money is. $2.92, there was a big spike there. There it is. Okay, so we've got 3 minutes before this race starts. The volume's now in. We've got $4,500. There's none of that spiking and gapping anymore. So I'm going to back this horse here for $50. Oops, actually it's 10. I'll cancel that. I'm going to go with 50 to make it worthwhile. Okay, if I can get in at 310, there's $13.6 ahead of me. Now it's pushing the price down, so I may not get filled. Particularly also because I'm below the $3 mark, which is a psychological barrier, and what they call a crossover point. Because from $3, the tick size is 5 cents. $3, $3.05, $3.10, $3.15. Whereas below $3, it's only 2 cents. $3, $2.98, $2.96, $2.94, $2.92. So your tick sizes are worth more above $3 than what they are below $3. And $3 being a round number is a psychological barrier. It's going to trade above $3 or it's going to stay below $3. Now 1 minute 52 left to the start of the race. Am I going to get on? Probably not now, because I've been sitting here talking and I missed my opportunity. And we can also see that a lot of money is now starting to trade down at these lower levels here. The other question I need to know is, where is the money? Is it coming up, as in the lay side, or is it coming down in the back side? We've got, somebody wanting to lay the horse at 59. Well, obviously it moves quickly. 17, 68, 57. Whereas the backers, 66, 14, 22. So in other words, the backers, there seems to be more money and they're pushing the price down, supply and demand, versus the people that are prepared to lay the horse. Again, if this doesn't make sense, let me know and I can explain it. They're not coming up to meet the backers. They're staying steady. The backers are coming down to meet the layers. Okay, because we're now trading at about $2.60 or so. With only 36 seconds left, I'm going to cancel this and go to the next race and find an opportunity there, which is in Cairns. There's only 20 seconds left to the start of this race, and there's no money trading, so forget it. Port Macquarie, looking for a winner. $2,700. 12 minutes to go. Yeah, okay, so obviously if you get into a race 12 minutes before the start, there's not going to be a lot of liquidity, money traded. So the opportunity to get in, well, yeah, I mean, look, I may be able to back the horse at $2.80 about now and think, wow, that was great, because when, if it drops down to $1.50 or $2, I'm like, wow, I got in at $2.80. Great. But we don't know. Is the horse going to trade at $2.80, or am I going to back it at $2.80 before it flies up to $4? Who knows? So what I like to see is volume, liquidity. And also the other thing is I need to be able to get out of my trade. Meaning if I back the horse at $2.80, I want to be able to lay it at $2.78, $2.76, something like that for my guaranteed profit. Because if I back the horse here and lay it lower, that's where my profit is, between the back and the lay. Same as when you're trading stocks, buying and selling a car, whatever. Your money isn't made when you buy the car, it's made when you sell it based on the difference. You pay $5,000 for a car, you sell it for $6,000, you've made $1,000 profit. Well, it's the same here. If I back a horse for $2.70, I'm essentially getting $2.70 for the horse if it wins. So I want to be able to lay the horse at less than $2.70, which is kind of a little bit of reverse thinking, isn't it? Because we're essentially backing the horse, which is, like selling it, because we are getting a bigger amount of money if the horse wins than what we buy it for, which is back to front, because laying a horse is actually selling it. Now again, this may make perfect sense to you, and you're thinking, well, yeah, duh. Or maybe it doesn't. And if it doesn't, then let me know in the comments, and I'm happy to explain it, draw a diagram or something, because the fundamentals of trading horses, or any sports on Betfair, is about backing and laying. So you've really got to understand the difference between backing and laying. Okay, is money coming in? We're at 9 minutes. Not really. We got $2. Wow. 2,701.7, $2. These are all just single little bets, and then there's a big gap between $2 and $9. There's less than $3,000 still traded on this favourite, $2.56. So there's nothing really. On the lay side, there's 23, 29, 22, 12. Again, just little single bets. Nothing exciting. I find, so far, that probably at about the 5-minute mark or less is where the money starts coming into the market. And when I mean the money, the smarter money, because obviously all around the world, there are people like you and I sitting here waiting to get into the market, but we don't want to be the first to set the price because we'll probably get it wrong. So we're smarter to sit back and wait and let the price stable out before we jump in, so we know exactly what the majority of people think that the horse should be traded at. Okay, so 7.5, 7.75 minutes to go. Yeah, still lots of gapping. We'll come back in a moment. One of the things I can set up here in the Geeks Toy is exactly how much I want to stake per bet, per trade, whether I want to offset my trade, set a stop loss, or whatever. I'm going to turn all these off. I'm going to set my default to 50. I'll change this to 50 as well. Sometimes trading the second favorite may be a better option depending on liquidity and volume traded. In this case, no. Looking at the second favorite, yeah, it's only a $3.10, so it's a short priced horse as well. $2.96 now, it's below $3. There's no volume. There's $7, $7, $8, $18. This is interesting. Look at this, $2.68, $2.96. The first and second favorite are very, very closely tied, in price. There's no real clear favorite here, is there? Looking at this, you sort of think, well, okay, the first favourite and the second favourite have probably got an equal chance against each other. Because normally when you see a favourite, it's, $3, less than $3, whatever. The second favourite's $5, $6, whatever. It's obvious that everyone thinks the first favourite's going to win. Whereas here, nobody's really sure. Could go either way. Look at this. A lot of money's just been placed on the second favourite at about $3.10. There it is there, $183. When I say a lot of money, it's comparative to what else has been traded, because prior to the $100 odd, it's been, $10, $11, $14, whatever. So it looks like a massive spike, but in comparison, yeah, it's 180 compared to 12 or 13 or so. So yeah, it's 10 times as much. So that's why that looks like a massive spike. But in reality, it's only $140, which could be one single backer. And in the scheme of things, the second favourites had less than $1,000 actually backed on it so far. The first favourite's close to $5,000. All right, so we're below the 5-minute mark. Have we got volume? Not really. We've got a lot of gaps here. Okay, the horse is traded as low as down here 250. Looking at the chart, around 250, 260, up here to $3. So it's reasonably tight trading range. $2.90, $2.50 or so. So in my opinion, and this is just my personal opinion, $2.50 is cheap. So in other words, I don't want to back at $2.50 because I'm not getting value in comparison to what these guys have got. up here at $3. Well, I doubt it's going to come back here again. So what I might do is, well, actually, it might. I'm going to throw a back bet in here at 305, which again is just above the $3 threshold, and see if I get filled. Bang, just got filled. So I got filled at 305. So what that means now is I've literally backed this horse, and if it wins, I get $3.05 times $50. So I'm going to get 150 bucks or so. Less my 50, it shows you up there. I'm actually going to get $102.50 if this horse wins, but if any other horse wins, I'm going to lose 50 because I've placed a $50 bet. Now, I don't want to risk $50 to maybe win $102. That's gambling. So I'm going to close out my bet and I'm going to green up. What that means is I'm going to click this, and when that gets filled, which it just did, I backed the horse at $3.05. I laid it at $2.09. And what that now means is, rather than saying, well, if this horse wins, I get 150 bucks. But if it doesn't, I lose 50. I've literally spread my back and lay across all horses so that regardless of which horse wins, I get $2.58. See that? $2.59, $2.59. So if the favourite wins, I get $2.58. If the second favourite, $2.59, blah, blah, blah. You can actually see it here across the whole board. That regardless of which horse wins, I'm going to make or get paid $2.58, $2.59, $2.59. So this is what they call a greened up strategy or a greened up position. Literally, I'm greened up because I'm green. I can't explain it any easier than that. Bottom line is, regardless of which horse wins this race, I'm getting paid $2.58. And why is that? Well, it's simple. I backed at $50, but I laid, when I say I backed at 50, I backed at $3.05, but I backed with $50 stake, and I laid at $2.90, and I collected $52.59. So in other words, somebody has given me $52.59. So there's my 50 bucks back. Thank you very much. I'll put that back in my pocket. I'm no longer gambling. And I get to keep the $2.59, regardless of what happens on the race. I'm up $2.59. Now, if you think about this logistically, if the horse wins, I get $3.05, 3.05 times 50, which is $152.50, right? But I have to pay out $2.90, 2.9 times 52.59, 52.59, which is $152.51. So $152.51 I have to pay out, but I'm collecting $152.50, which is why you can see I'm 1 cent less here because I have to pay out $151.52, whatever it was, 1 cent less than what I'm actually getting. Any other horse, I don't have that 1 cent difference, so I get $2.59, which is the difference between the $50 I paid versus the $52.59 that I received. I hope that makes sense. So the race is in play now. You can see the timer is going up rather than coming down, and I don't care. I don't need to sit here and watch the race. I don't need to care who wins the race. Regardless, I've locked in and squared away my green profit, and I get to keep $2.58 or $2.59 regardless of the outcome. So there's no point sitting here watching it because it really makes no difference to me. If you were keen to watch it, you could literally look at the prices of the horses while the race is running, and you can see how quickly they change. You think, okay, this is trading at $2, $3, $1.99. Obviously the first favourite's in the lead. Oh, it's gone to $3.70. Through $1.30. Look how quickly these prices change. It's insane. $1.22, $1. Okay, so the favourite's going to win the race. You can see here it's trading at $1.01, $1.02, which means way down here is where it's trading, which means the favourite did win the race, which is actually a 1 cent difference to me. So instead of getting the $2.59, yay, I only get $2.58. Damn. Okay, so that's that. And then obviously just rinse and repeat, go to the next race, Albion Park, and that's basically scalping the Betfair market using the Geeks Toy software. Let me know if you got something out of this video and you want me to create some more, or let me know if you have any questions or need some clarification on something.